produce window film, they produce it and they stretch it. So they stretch it one direction when they make it. So that's why when you go to shrink it, it only shrinks back the direction that they stretched. So this is my roll of film. I can only shrink to the edges of the core and never down the side. So again, this really matters when you're trying to do your side doors. If you rotated it on how you positioned it on here, you just have to remember you can always shrink it, but if I rotate the pattern sideways, instead of shrinking it up and down, maybe I gotta shrink it left and right based on how it comes off of this roll here. So for tint here, not a big deal. Everything's gonna go in the back window up and down, so we know where our top and bottom is. If you ever get confused, you cut it off the roll and you're trying to figure out what side's what, where's the tint, where's the liner. The liner side is always going to be slipperier. So if I fold this over on itself, like this slides very easy here. No problem with that sliding on itself. The tint side is very sticky, so you fold this over, it's going to, like it doesn't move, like it's tacked on itself. So tint is sticky, so obviously the tint side is what lays on the window. So if you're ever confused about what side's what when you're holding a roll, that's the easiest way to figure that out. So lay that up there. Lay this guy on the glass here. Oh, yeah, plenty of that. And it's got to be 10 years since I've done one of these. I've been happy all those 10 years. You're resetting my clock here. Resetting my clock here on this stuff. All right. So I'm just going to get this thing kind of tacked down. When you're doing windows, this one's kind of an equal bubble all the way. A lot of times windshields and back windows, they're kind of flatter across the bottom and they curve more at the top. If that's the case, what you can do to make life a little easier for you, like traditionally we're taught to kind of split it down the center. And we have equal parts top and bottom, we split the amount we got to shrink. But if it's going to be harder to shrink the top because it's more curve in it, sometimes I'll take my center line and move it up a couple inches, and you may have less to shrink of the hard spot and more to shrink of the easier spot, and it's going to make life a lot easier for you too. This one here is pretty much kind of evenly bubbled here, so I'm going to kind of hit it down the middle. But if you're running into an issue with a windshield that you're just having a hard time shrinking out that top because it's just so much curve up there, make your life easier by moving your water line, your H line, bring it up some. So yeah, there's more to do at the bottom, but traditionally it's usually easier to do it anyways down there, and it makes it not as hard when there's less material to shrink at the top. So okay, so we go through here, kind of clear a little tack spot on there, so now I can lift up and not worry about it falling off the car on me. And get towards the center. Put a little water line up the middle, come through the middle. Try to follow these lines too, like look at them like they're wood grain. So your defroster lines are essentially going to be the grain in the wood, if you will. So don't just take a water line and go straight across. If the lines kind of curl up at the edge, follow it with your water. And the same thing with your squeegee. So I've got water up and down the center here, water through the middle. So now I'm going to go through and pull that tension in here. Right now it's just laying flat. So I'm going to lift up to the middle. I'm going to put some good grip on here. I'm going to squeegee nice and firm all the way out the side. So we got a nice firm stretch. Use our hands kind of gently lay this down first so we don't crease it. Once we get it flat there, now I'm going to come through here and pull it nice and tight. The lights in here made me think I had it backwards for something. We're good. All right, nice and firm down the side here. So I'm going to trim a little of this off. You don't need quite this much. The top of my window is like right here. So get rid of some of this here. At least the sides. Pick up some of the side. Edges right there. All right. Trimming this all up really good later. Back up, follow that same water line across. sides are locked down really good. If anytime the heat makes the film come out to the side a little bit, and then you get some heat on there, it's going to melt that really bad. We don't want that to happen. Again, it's going to try to shrink it sideways, and it just doesn't work out well. So, next thing we'll do here is separate our middle across that water line that we got here. So I got my 4/4 here. So a lot of material to get out of here. So I may do some trimming as I go, especially at the bottom here. I'm probably going to cut a lot of this off here when we get going, but right now we'll start with it as it is. So again, our dryer sheet is what keeps all this floating. That's what we want. It's easier to shrink it when it's all floating around than if it was all individual. So we'll take the heat gun here. I'm going to start at the top. It doesn't matter which side we go here. All right. Appreciate it. So we talked about a pull method here. Basically what I'm going to try to do is pull the film to where I make kind of essentially a nice even tint of product. So if I pull back right in the center here, the center of my pocket is going to be somewhere through here. I can get a little bit more of a flat edge going on there. Now again, this one's got a lot going on. I mean, I can get almost 3 fingers tall underneath this pocket. There's a lot of film we're going to shrink down. So we're going to keep moving our hand as we go, but we're going to keep tension. You might even move the tension a little bit as I bring the heat across to kind of keep things going in the right direction. So we're just going to keep that tension on there, throw some heat on there, and see where we go. So I'll turn it on high, give it about 10 seconds to warm up. So I'm going to aim the heat. Is important. We don't want to get the heat too close or too far. I keep it about this far away from the glass, about as far as my card is. Right, so I don't want to be on the window. I don't want to be way out here. When you're shrinking, it's important to keep the same gap of height all the way across as you go. Some people have a tendency to go real low and then swing out, and it's like you're getting very uneven heating there. Not enough, and way too much, and not enough again. You can't throw the heat. It doesn't work that way, so you can't sit here and just go like one of these and just flick it over there. It's not going to work. You have to actually keep the hand moving across the surface. When you're shrinking, we have these water lines that are locked down here. Nothing's going to hurt this. I can sit here with the heat on here for a long time and we're not doing anything to that film where it's locked to the car. Where it's loose, as soon as it gets hit with anything, it starts burning and curling and shrinking, right? So use that to your advantage. When you're shrinking, start on the edge, bring it all the way across to the center. You're not going to hurt it. Then go up and come back across. To the edge, so go up and go across. We can't hurt this where it's laying down. Eventually, yeah, it'll blister, but the half a second you're sitting on there is not going to mess it up. Alright, so keeping our heat across here, waiting for the film to react to the heat. We keep moving my hand, keeping that tension going. Working our way up, now come back across. Chipping away at it, waiting for the film to react to the heat before I move on. Across. Just got a little too slow over there. Started to get a little extra hot on me. Okay, up and over. Just gonna keep on doing this all the way out. It's getting nice and toasty in there, literally. You may get to the point where, almost where I'm at here, the film kind of just wants to stop shrinking for me. So if that's the case, now we are almost at the top edge is right here. We're almost there. Just let it chill. Let it cool off. Sometimes the film just gets so hot that it just wants to give up. But it will keep shrinking, just give it time. So you can see we got this, I mean, that's pretty flat right through here. There's almost nothing there. It's definitely going to squeegee out nice and smooth here. Let me start taking this out. So I'll let that chill for a minute and I'll start working on the bottom. Like I said, my edge is literally right here, so we're just about there right now. We'll let that cool off, start working on the bottom. Same idea here. Attention. as you can tell, I'm not really yanking on the film. I'm just kind of keeping a little bit of tension on there. So my side popped up on me. See the edge came up here? I have to stop right away and get this to stick back down again before I keep going. Use your squeegee, lock it down. If I kept going, I would start melting the edge. We don't need that. So for right now, we can stop where we're at, kind of squeegee this all down. Right through about here, let's see a little bit more shrink. On this section, a little bit, didn't quite get shrank enough. Alright, so if you're noticing too, one of the things I'm trying to do is kind of keep a straight line, kind of keep it even as we go across. That's important, especially on the harder windows, but even on an easier window, traditionally it's like nothing to shrink in the middle, everything's in the corner, right? That's the hardest part is to do is your corners, and that's because again, any fingers you had here, we literally brought right down, so everything is extra hard on the four corners because we take the fingers and push them up in the corner. So it's going to be easy to shrink the middle typically on most windows, and a lot of guys will get in the habit of like shrinking that all the way down. And again, you kind of work yourself into a corner where all this easy stuff goes down quick, and you have this hard area that there's nowhere for the film to stretch out and spread out into to take up some of that tension. So again, if you can work on trying to keep everything nice and even as you go across, pretty much got that here too, just about a straight line all the way through here. That way it kind of evenly shrinks it. You can use the entire piece of film below it to keep moving things out. All right, so I got a question. How far have you guys gotten on this window shrinking before you had an issue? Like, are you like all the way at the very edges? Or are you guys like halfway up and you got problems? Like, where is it?
Like halfway.
Is it top or bottom? Or both? Or what do you got?
Pretty much
All of it? Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
the method we was using, we wasn't doing the full.
Yeah. No, I think it's, I'm not saying you have to do that. I think
No,
it's
it's
going to
better,
make things
really.
easier. I mean, it was just a little tension, just run the heat.
Yeah,
That's all we were doing there.
it's nice.
It works. Gets the job done, right? So sometimes I do put a good pull. This film, I haven't had to do that yet with this far. No stretching really. It's just been keeping it taut and running the heat over it. But also the setup, pulling it super tight when you first do it, also helps with making it shrink easier in general. So, all right, so I'm going to work this guy down now, try to get him even. He is kind of, if you notice, he's kind of aiming this direction. He's not going down, he's not going sideways. His finger's kind of got a little wave breaking over here. Whenever you see that, we always want to shrink things down. Don't worry about trying to squeegee it down though. It's telling you that wave is breaking on an angle here. So we want to actually take this tension here and kind of follow it out on an angle out the side. And what we might find is it may disappear. Like it might actually just go away for us. If I try to like straighten this thing back up and then try to shrink it down, I might actually crease it very easily. So anytime you see this kind of wave break action going, and I got another little guy right here, if I try to shove him straight up, I might crease it because it doesn't want to go that way. But and that wave is kind of breaking out this direction, so I'm just going to keep pushing that guy out there. The same thing, but I'm going to start with this one down here, and we can kind of work it out. You can see this guy pretty much all just disappear on his own. So don't think that just because you see it there in the middle of the window, you have to force it out. Again, if it's got that wave, just move that wave over. It may go to the point where it stands straight up, and you're good. Shrink it down. But like that one, it just disappeared on me. I mean, I could have spent a lot of extra time keeping that up, trying to get that thing down, but I really didn't even have to do that. It just kind of ran right out the side.
And when you say point, which way your finger's pointing, you mean which way the wave is going?
Correct. Whatever direction it's kind of like breaking. If there was a wave coming to the shore, that sucker was aiming this direction, right? So I'm just going to follow that with my hand, moving it out in that direction until it either jumps into this guy and pops up, or it comes out the side. And like this one just came out the side, so that worked out pretty good. All right, so we're gonna keep going on this bottom here. There's definitely a lot to shrink out of here still. I'm gonna trim it here in a minute. I'm gonna see if I can get a little further out without having to trim it first. Put a little pressure on here, a little tension. See what we can do. This is where I'm going to start taking my time with the heat. I'll even start a little further back and bring the heat into it. I don't want to try to jump too fast into it with the heat and burn it, because there is, again, there's a lot that needs to be shrank out of this stuff. We're gonna slowly let the film do its thing. And I may start, again, this is just because it's such an extreme window. I may start every inch or two stopping with the heat and pushing down, instead of trying to get a big chunk like I was doing before. I'm gonna slowly work this down. So whenever possible, I'm just going to use my card just to lay the film down. I don't want to have to try to like, sometimes I do, I heat and push and force it and stretch it out with the card, but for the most part, this is just ensuring that I shrank it right. So I don't want to have to live with the card. Some guys are like heating and pushing the whole thing the whole time, which is okay, but you maybe don't need to do that, right? So we're just going to use our card just to make sure everything lays down smooth. We got a little wave break going here. It's going to stand this guy up, move him over. Now he's going up and down. He didn't go out the side, but he's standing up now. Okay. All right, so we're getting there. I think we want to go ahead and trim some of this off and just kind of be extra careful on the rest of it. So what's left?
You use your card to lay it, not push it out.
Yeah, and sometimes I will. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll have to do that. You know, I have no choice but to use the card to help it finish it out. But if I can just use it just for touch up, laying down, just ensuring that I got it, I'll do that. I'm still trying to leave myself a good amount of excess on here, so I have to start grabbing anything. Pulling on it.
Okay, perfect. There's the bottom one. Add it on one.
Alright, so now that I have my corner exposed, I'm going to go ahead and throw a little more water down here. Make this thing stick a little bit easier. Alright, now we're definitely going to be taking our time. Nice and easy, slowly letting the heat gun do its work. Everything's standing up and down. This could be a point where I want to throw some air underneath here and soften this up some from the underneath side. May make this slightly easier for me when I go to put it on the top side. Yeah, I'm just trying to stand these fingers straight up and down, make sure that they go in the right direction. Slowly letting this thing start to shrink out. There's just so much film to bring down, I just got to go nice and easy with it so we don't ruin it. That's close. Pushing this a little bit, see where we're at. I got a couple spots that are trying to give me a little tension and grabs. Right here, right here. So I'm just gonna slowly, methodically, gently start working these guys. This is one where I can tell there's a little bit of tension here, and it's not damaged yet, but I can tell these two spots are trying. If I put too much heat there, they're going to just pinch up on me. So I'm going to, this is one where I am going to work with the heat and the push to kind of work myself through them, kind of get it back to a smooth edge again. At least that's the goal here, which we're going to try to do. So I'm going to slowly start heating and pushing a little bit here. I'd rather get, if I can, to like a straight edge all the way across. So a little heat, a little bit of push. That's mostly gone now. soften this up from the bottom side here. As you see here, like this edge is kind of starting to fall in the middle here just from the heat that I'm putting on there. So that's going to make it inevitably a little bit easier to shrink this guy. On the top side. And get close to that edge. Right here. Almost all the way out to the edge.
So
Okay. So I'm gonna get the one once I chill. I'm gonna work the top here, finish this one out. It's got another inch to go across most of this here. Get my little wave break, work him over. So it stands up, get him up the corner here, see if that goes away. And it did. Alright, same thing over here. Check this there. Alright.
What's your normal procedure for putting it on the tint inside? Do you roll it or you just stick it in?
Windshields I typically try to roll. If like a back window, if I'm climbing into the car, usually I don't roll it, but I might roll it if it's a convertible. Sometimes you're climbing in the car, you can get that window to where it's just openly exposed, and some of them are really small, and it's easier just to unroll them and try to carry the big flat piece in and open it up inside there. Some coupes I'll do it too, but primarily I do the Frankenstein. I don't know how you guys fold the film to walk it into the car, where it's kind of hanging over both your arms as you kind of walk in like Frankenstein get into a car. I don't know if that's how you guys typically do it. I'll do that a lot. For like a hatchback, I don't really do that because you can just grab the film and just hold it, just walk it right up to the window and start laying it on like that. But climbing in a car, I'm more of that Frankenstein method when I walk in. Just about finish this guy here. This half. That's just about it. Alright, got the edge right there. Alright, so that's one half. Any questions, any thoughts?